I am so excited about all of the interest in mealworms. They are so cool, so user-friendly, so simple, so cheap, so non-time consuming, which is what us ag teachers need. So I'm really excited to take you on a virtual tour of sorts of the mealworm farm, show you how I get it set up, and what materials I use to manage it. So let's go. All right, everyone, here it is, the mealworm farm. I love the farm because everything that I need for it, including the farm, is stored here on this rollable, movable cart, which is awesome because I can kind of push it out of the way if I need to. The mealworm farm goes where I need it. Mobile mealworm farm. That's what I'm gonna start calling it. So I'll start by going through each of the things that I have to help me run and manage the farm, and then I'll show you how I rotate the mealworms through their different stages in their life cycle. So most of the magic happens in this black set of drawers here. That's where the mealworms are housed. I also have an extra container of wheat bran that I keep around. Wheat bran is their primary food source as well as the substrate they live in. I have another container here that comes in very handy just as extra storage space, gives me some extra room for some more mealworms if I need them. A cutting board for potatoes, carrots, apples. Those are usually what I use for the mealworms water source. So they typically eat fruits and vegetables. Those are the ones I go with. I also have some sieves down here of different sizes to help me sort out the poop or the frass, as well as different sized mealworms and the beetles. And then just 2 buckets here to help me with that process as well. Oh, also chopsticks. You'll have some students who don't want to touch the bugs. Chopsticks are very handy for that. All right, that's basically it. Really not much goes into the farm itself. You don't need a ton of supplies, nothing fancy. In fact, the storage drawers here, I actually got from a teacher down the hall. They were gonna toss them out. I said, hey, I'll take those. So they are now the home for the mealworm farm. All right, so again, that's it. Now let's talk about where the mealworms are, where they go, all that good stuff. So I started off with my mealworms as larvae. And when the mealworms are larvae, I keep them in a separate drawer. So my mealworms are separated based on the stage they are in the life cycle. This bottom drawer here contains, again, the larval stage, the actual mealworms. They're in here with their substrate, that wheat bran. It's what they live in, that's what they eat. And I have this container filled up, so there are at least 2 inches, a lot more here just because it's a deep drawer, but as long as there are at least 2 inches of space between the top of the substrate and the top of the drawer, the mealworms aren't going to crawl out, so you'll be fine there. This is my grow stage, harvest stage drawer. So I have a lot of my larger mealworms in here. They're munching on their apples, which my primary source of moisture for them is potatoes. But I ran out of potatoes. Next I usually go carrots, but I ran out of carrots. So some students didn't eat their apples in their breakfast this morning, and that's what the mealworms get to eat then for the next few days. So the mealworms will munch on that. I actually don't have very many in here at the moment for, I had some things go a little crazy, but I do have a couple little guys in here. So there he is, little cutie. He's like, please don't touch me. So the mealworms will hang out in here when they get to, I call them medium sized, until they either pupate or are harvested. So they'll hang out in here, and I'll harvest them when, let's see if I can find a good size. I just cleaned them out the other day, so I might not be able to find a good sized one. I like to hang out in the corners. Oops. I keep seeing them and then they disappear. Moving too quick. Well, about this size actually is pretty good. This guy will get a little bit bigger before he's harvested or he pupates. Where'd he go? But about this size. At that point, once they pupate, I do keep a few to pupate, and they're gonna create the next generations of mealworms for me. But once they pupate, they come up to this drawer. And this drawer contains my beetles and the pupae. So I put the pupa up on here, up on this little raised container, and this keeps them away from beetles. The beetles will eat them. They are cannibalistic. So the pupae come up here. Once the beetles emerge, the beetles will crawl down off to the rest of the substrate below and leave these guys to continue their process. The beetles do stay in here. They will mate, lay eggs, kind of do their thing. Again, as long as you keep 2 inches between the substrate, which again is wheat bran, they have to have a water source as well. As long as you keep 2 inches between the top of the substrate and the top of the container, you are fine. The beetles will not crawl out. They cannot fly. They do have wings, hard wings, but they do not fly. So they'll be fine in there. I do keep my beetles in, this container for about 4 weeks. I've found for me that seems to be the magic number. That gives them time to lay eggs, but it doesn't give a bunch of time for incubation. In about 4 weeks, some of those eggs will start to hatch. And again, I don't want those little instars to be beetle food, so we move those around pretty quick. So I sift out the beetles using the sieves that I showed here below. Beetles get sifted, and all of the wheat bran substrate goes back into this container and moves up into the nursery. So the bran would go back up here, and this one I actually just moved a couple days ago. And it's pretty cool because you can see at the bottom here, we have a bunch of little eggs stuck to the bottom of this container. So again, once the beetles are removed from the substrate, that whole drawer comes up, becomes my nursery drawer. They don't need too much moisture at this point. I do need to put an apple or some sort of water source in here, but at this point, this container is used for incubation of the eggs, and then the first few instars will start out in here. After they start to get a little bit bigger, right now you can't even see them, but if you look closely enough and are very patient and you have really good vision, you can see the substrate moving around. They are alive in there. Once they get a little bit bigger, become more visible, then we move this drawer back to a grow and harvest drawer and start the whole process over again. So it is kind of a juggling act of figuring out when to move the mealworms, how long to let them sit, how many drawers do you need. So again, I've got my grow and harvest drawer here, beetle and pupa drawer here, nursery drawer here, and then I had so many beetles this last round. My extra storage container that I mentioned is also another nursery drawer at the moment. So it's always nice to have a little extra container hanging around. So this whole setup isn't extremely sophisticated. I've had it for a year and a half. It started as just like wouldn't it be cool if we didn't have to drive 45 minutes to pick up mealworms every other week. So, for us it really works, and I'm able to get quite a few mealworms out of it. I'll throw in a couple pictures into the post that I write of the amount of mealworms that we can get out of it, but containers, I've never weighed them out, but this last time I had at least 10 cups of mealworms that I harvested on top of all of them that I let pupate. So, this guy, while is seemingly small, has quite a large carrying capacity, which is really nice. So, that's just a general overview of the mealworm farm, kind of how I rotate how I rotate the mealworms, but I would be happy to answer any questions that you would have. I'll throw in more detail into the post, and please feel free to reach out to me if you do have questions, you're wanting to know how to get started. I love to share. I'd be willing to help, and good luck on your mealworm adventures.